Welcome to Beacons of Light, a show that really captures the true spirit of the Society of St. Vincent de Paul. Joining me today is Don Larson, Allison, and Don's middle name is Larson, and we had just a little conversation about that a few minutes ago, but you're one of our best volunteers. Talk to us about how you got started.
Well, I got started back in December of 2018. What happened was I'm in the diaconate formation program right now, studying to become a deacon in the Catholic Church, hopefully if I make it through the process. It's a 5-year process, and we're almost at the end of year 3, at least my class is. And in our first semester back in 2018 in the fall, we had a service project we had to do as part of our Introduction to Theology class. And I didn't choose St. Vincent de Paul as my service project, but I did do something else, and it got me in the habit of doing some service and started realizing how rewarding it was and really enjoyed doing it a lot. And so that December, it was a couple days before Christmas. I remember we were going to have some company, our daughters and some other people coming over in a few days for Christmas. I was in my backyard kind of doing some things in my patio, and I just dropped whatever I had in my hand, my broom or rake or something. And my wife said, "What you doing?" I said, "This is crazy. I'm worried about some leaves and the limbs in the backyard. There are people who don't have enough to eat, and Christmas is coming up. I'm going to go to St. Vincent de Paul and see if I can help." She said, "Do you know where it is?" I said, "No, I guess my phone will help me figure that out." And I drove over there. It was about 11 or so in the morning, and I walked in, and the people looked at me like, "Can I help you or something?" I said, "Yeah, I'm here to help." And it was, I thought one guy was going to kiss me. He said, "Oh, you've been sent here by God. I need some help badly." It was the day that the bishop had been there to give out Christmas gifts to children. You'll do that once a year, I know, I think probably the Saturday before Christmas. And there were all the tables in the dining room, the lunchroom had been moved out, and they had to be moved back in the next few minutes because your crowd was outside waiting to come in and get their good hot meal. And so this guy and I went and started bringing these chairs in. We had to bring tables. We had to bring 20 tables in, heaviest tables I've ever lifted. And we got them in place just in time. And then you'll open the doors, and the people came in and started getting their food. And I started helping with wiping the tables and taking out the trash and everything. And it took off from there. It was so rewarding, and I started doing it on a regular basis. Did it off and on ever since. I say off and on, of course, you had to shut down for a while for COVID, but that's how I got started.
Well, what a great story. I was there that day,
Yeah,
and I
were.
remember, typically we don't remove the chairs. That was the year we did remove the chairs just to give us more room. We were expecting a real big crowd of children, and the Holy Spirit sent you there that day because it was something we decided not to do anymore because it's one thing to kind of move the tables around and move the chairs to the proper place, but when you put them outside, that's a whole another thing. So you just walked in where the Holy Spirit led you to St. Vincent de Paul. Very
Absolutely.
Powerful.
Yep.
Well, what keeps you coming back? Because you mentioned, we have, our dining room meals continue throughout the pandemic, but we had to stop volunteers. What kept you coming back after that first initial visit?
Well, the work is so rewarding. There's just no doubt about that. And so, until March of 20, of course, when we had to shut down for COVID, there were people coming in the lunchroom every day at lunch to get their hot meal. We had volunteers serving, had volunteers doing other things. I would serve whenever there was a need for that, but primarily I was helping what we call on the floor. Again, wiping the tables and taking out the garbage and everything. And there was a lot of garbage to be taken out. A lot of people eating in a short period of time. They throw their styrofoam in the garbage on the way out, and those things fill up fast. But we got to interact with the people. That's why I really preferred actually being out there, not actually serving the food, because we got to meet people that were coming in there, people that were very needy, and the chance to talk to them, visit with them, say, "Hey, how you doing? Good to see you." I wonder if how long it's been since somebody told them that, "Good to see you. Are you looking good today?" Or "God bless you," or "Merry Christmas," or "Happy Easter," or whatever time of year it is. And just you have a lot of regulars that come, of course, or were coming, and so we got to know a lot of those people, and we got to know their names and some of their stories, and just making friends with them, and it was so rewarding. And it's a typical situation, I think, where a lot of people experience when they volunteer. You volunteer to try to serve and help other people, and think, well, I'm going to give something. I'm going to give my time. I'm going to give some effort here. I'm going to sacrifice to do something for somebody. But you end up getting more in return than what you gave, because the reward is so big and so so real, and that's why I kept coming back. And so we also got to know the staff real well. We got to know the other volunteers. We got to know each other, and there was camaraderie there, and it was rewarding to help the staff because you got a great staff, hard-working staff. And so I enjoyed helping them, enjoyed helping the people that were your customers that needed a place to eat and a hot meal to eat. So that's why I kept coming back.
Well, you had to get out of your comfort zone because, you know, when you're in your backyard, you're raking leaves, you're comfortable. You feel at home, but you had to go to a place, you didn't even know where it was, and then you had to kind of engage with people from all different walks of life. How did you do, I mean, what was that initial, did you have to get out of that comfort zone?
Oh yeah, it's like any new experience. I felt like I was drinking from a fire hose at first. You know, taking it all in, all the people, who's doing what, and the you know, where things are, and you know, if you needed a mop, where is it? Or if somebody needed a refill on their drink, and you know, can I do that? Or what are the rules? And just all kind of things like that. You give out bags as people leave, bags of snacks and sandwiches and drink and think it could be their meal for later. Who's doing that? And people want 2 bags. What's the rules? So there was a real big adjustment of, you know, the comfort zone as you talk about, and also just this new environment. I had never done that, never been there before. I didn't even know where it was. So there was an adjustment, but it was a good adjustment. I really enjoyed it, and you know, a few days later I came back and have been doing it off and on ever since.
Yeah, well, it seems like every day you ever were down there, I would go down to the dining room. I'd catch you. I can't go down to the dining room every day, but when I am blessed with that opportunity, it always seems I see you, and you're always doing hard work. It's not I mean, not to say we have glamorous volunteer opportunities at St. Vincent de Paul, but that you're where the rubber meets the road in a very powerful way. And don't you think that's what Christ calls us all to do? Oh
yes, you got to do what's needed, okay? And if it's wiping tables and mopping the floor and taking out the trash, that's what you do. That's what somebody had to do that. And look, I walked in, and I had to put on an apron, had to put on a hairnet, had to put on gloves. I guess now if we can resume that, we have to put on masks. And so, you know, that was a new experience for me too. Yeah. But you know, you just do what's needed and help people as you can.
Well, that's what we're all called to do, is to embrace Christ in a very powerful way. And you mentioned our staff; they're wonderful, and the other volunteers are wonderful as well.
Oh yes, you know, we're blessed to have some great volunteers, and I know you had to shut things down, of course, in March of 2020, and probably until about August or so of 2020, and the staff worked that whole time without any volunteer help. When we started volunteering again in the fall of 2020, and I started realizing what had been happening since we had been there, and your staff had done everything, cooked all the meals, filled all the plates, handed them out every day through the window as people couldn't come in, but you still served them, through the window. Then they would eat. I guess they would just eat somewhere outside. But then they had to do all the bags of hope that we call them, the bags I was talking about with the goodies in there, and the sandwiches and everything. I don't know how your staff did all that. Your staff has been used to having 5 or 10 volunteers every day for 7 days a week, and for 6 months they did all the work without any volunteer help. So I know your staff's not doing it for the money. They're doing it out of the goodness of their heart, and they're very special people, and helping them was also as rewarding as helping the other people.
Well, thank you, Don. I agree. The staff at St. Vincent de Paul are wonderful. The volunteers are wonderful. We just have a wonderful volunteer experience at St. Vincent de Paul. When we come back, we'll talk about why our work is so very important to those we serve. For over 20 years, the St. Vincent de Paul Community Pharmacy has served our area. We provide prescription medicines for those who have nowhere to turn for this most basic healthcare need. Please, if you need your medicine or you know a family member that needs their medicine, contact us. Kay, how can they get in touch?
383-7450.
Give us a call today and spread the word so that we can ensure no one goes without their prescription medication. Welcome back. I'm here with Don Allison, and we're talking about St. Vincent de Paul, his experiences. It's all about the people, isn't it, Don?
It really is.
So you got some special stories, memories?
Well, back when we were able to serve people in the lunchroom, and I hope we get back to that one day, of course. I know they do too. But you had a lot of people that we, of course, we call them the customers, and a lot of regulars that come in there. We got to know them on a certain basis. Sometimes we were able to visit with them and make friends with them. And so there was one lady that still sticks in my mind, and I hope she's still around. She must be over 90, and she's in a wheelchair. We call her the Queen. And she would come almost every single day, and she would come in an electric wheelchair. And I know I'd see her sometimes outside. She's putting down the street and in that wheelchair and going, as fast as it'll go, but it's not very fast. And it takes her a while to get there. And then she would often come into the lunchroom at about 10 minutes to 1 or so. Now we shut off at 1 o'clock. We stopped serving at 1 o'clock. And so a lot of times people come in right at the last minute. We think, oh, but we're going to be here late because they just got here and we got to let them have time to eat. When she would come in, and it was not that at all. We said, oh, we were so happy to see her. She had a great attitude. We treated her like a queen. That's why we called her the Queen. We make sure we had a special place for her, a good, clean table, place where she could get up, easy access in her wheelchair. Let her sit there. We'd bring her food, bring her drink, bring her a refill if she needed it, and just let her take as long as she needed. She had earned that respect and that status. She was very friendly, very appreciative. I wonder about her. She's an example of kind of people that I'm kind of worried about now that, since they haven't been able to do that since March of 2020, so it's been over a year. I hope she's still able to get her meals from you guys or from somewhere. And so I just can't come in the lunchroom. But she's one that sticks out of my mind because she was a special lady and with special needs, and she was also always very grateful.
She, the line at the dining room for our to-go meals now continue to be long, and I've seen her in the line.
Oh, good.
And so she's getting taken care of. And you're right, the part of the COVID experience that I think we disliked the most was that interaction. Like you said, you showed up, you were on the floor. You didn't go in the corner, you interacting with people, because in a real sense, Christ calls us to seek and find the forgotten, the suffering, or the deprived. And you see that the men, women, and children that we serve, they are people that if it wasn't for St. Vincent de Paul representing Christ to serve those in need, they go hungry, wouldn't they, Don?
Yeah, it makes you wonder, what would these people do if St. Vincent de Paul was not in Baton Rouge? Because you do serve a lot of people. I know I've heard a lot about the numbers, and they would count most every day to see how many we had served. And many days we served around 400 or nearly 400. Sometimes it was less than that, but it was not uncommon to serve 300 or more than that, or like I said, 400. And so, what would those people do if you weren't there and St. Vincent de Paul Society wasn't there in Baton Rouge to serve those meals? And of course, you have the homeless shelter where you house people, and still there's a lot of people on the street. And they come from who knows where, who knows where they're sleeping, what their situation is, what their story is, but they are a lot better off because St. Vincent de Paul is there than they would be if it were not there.
Well, as someone that's studying to become a deacon, when you witnessed what you saw at the St. Vincent de Paul Society, what you experienced, did you feel the Holy Spirit right there on your side?
Oh yeah, you see Jesus in the face of many of these people, and oftentimes it reminds you that Jesus said in several places, you need to feed the hungry, clothe the naked, give drink to the thirsty, visit the sick, visit the prisoners, give shelter to the homeless. Do that for those people. In fact, in some places it talks about how one day, Judgment Day, you might be judged that way. Did you help those people? And so, that really hits home when you're there and you see that's the real life where the rubber meets the road. That's where those people are. It's kind of a concept if you're not really seeing it and experiencing it. But boy, when you experience it, it really hits home. That's what this is all about. We're supposed to help people like that, and it's not a labor of labor. It's a labor of love because it becomes so rewarding. And it's rewarding, like I said earlier, to help your staff, but really that's helping those people that don't know where they would eat or sleep if it weren't for St. Vincent de Paul. That is so very rewarding, and I would recommend that to anybody who hasn't done it before.
And that is a good recommendation because in a real true sense, St. Vincent de Paul's philosophy is to see each person we serve as a child of God, and we're called to love all of God's children. And one thing I know you've witnessed is the non-judgmental atmosphere that we have at St. Vincent de Paul. Very non-judgmental. People come in as they are. You have people that maybe are addicted or mentally ill, and you mentioned, we know her name, but we're not going to share it with you on the television, the elderly lady, which we have other grandparents coming in and other people. Those really hurt your heart. But for me personally, it's the mentally ill that saddens me the most, because as a child of God, some of them can't even, if you ask them, simple questions, they can't even answer it. But it's so uplifting to see people like yourself and, like you said, our wonderful staff. So when you see that non-judgmental atmosphere, don't you think that's what Christ calls us to do?
Oh yeah, there's no doubt about that. I mean, there's such a variety of people that come in there that you serve. It's incredible. It's not just, elderly or people that are barely have any clothes to wear or anything like that. There's young people. There is elderly, of course. There are people who are in wheelchairs or maybe disabled in some other way. But there are some young people too. The people that really, if they walked in some other building, you would think there's nothing different about them than about yourself. But there must be, because they must be having some kind of internal problem, whether it's mental issue or something else. There are a lot of young children. So there's families that come in there, mothers and dads that bring all their children. Some of them are very little, on up to the ones that are, like I said, 90 or above, and everything in between. When you see a family come in, you know that, well, those people really need your help. Those parents are not just trying to feed themselves. They've got 3 or 4 children they're trying to feed. That's very important, very rewarding. And so everybody, we take them as we find them, tall, short, and walking or crippled, or young and old, or whatever. They all come in. Nobody judges anybody. If you get a place, and if you can't carry your own plate for some reason, you take a seat and we'll bring your plate to you.
Well, Don, I look up to Don, but Don knows I look up to everybody. But, Don, one time a lady saw me, and, from the show or from television here locally, local media, and she says, "Wow, you look just like you do on television, except I thought you were a lot taller." But, you're right. Whether somebody's short, tall, whatever, we just wrap love around them, and it's remarkable to see that love. And for me, as the president of the St. Vincent de Paul Society in Baton Rouge, it's so very uplifting to see people like Don and the other volunteers that come in, they get away from their comfort zone, and then they really embrace those we are blessed to serve in such a powerful way. And I think that's what Christ calls us to do. Not only because of what it does for those we serve, but also that spiritual growth Don talked about. And when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more about that spiritual growth and why it is so important in the world we live in today. The Society of St. Vincent de Paul's first cookbook, Taste and See, is the gift which helps share the goodness of the Lord with those most in need. Featuring recipes from Chef John Foles, each chapter begins with a short story about one of our special work programs. To order your copy of Taste and See, please call the Society or visit our website. Help multiply blessings for the neediest in our community. Welcome back. We're here with Don Allison, and I'm starting the first segment by saying Don Larson Allison, because that's your middle name, and baseball fans will know Don Larson pitched that no-hitter in the World Series. You're a big baseball fan.
Oh yeah.
And in a lot of ways, Don, you've kind of, sometimes you're going to miss some of those major league games now that you're retired, and you'll come in to serve those who really need a helping hand up. What do you think the impact is on those individuals as you're sacrificing your time, you're coming in to serve them? How does it impact them?
The volunteers?
Yes.
Oh yes, in a very big way.
No, the guests. I'm sorry, the
Okay.
guests. How is it impacting the guests?
Oh well, certainly we're helping them. They're getting the hot meal they need very badly. They're getting some interaction, some friendship from some people, and some ability to get out of the hot sun or get out of the cold weather and come inside. Now again, I know you're not able to serve indoor meals now, but hopefully that's going to resume again pretty soon.
Right.
And so there's just it's a camaraderie, I think, that's developed between the customers among themselves, and between the volunteers and the customers, and the volunteers and the staff and the customers. And so there's a physical benefit that's pretty obvious. We're filling an empty stomach, hopefully, and giving them something to take home. They can maybe be a meal for that night also. But there's also the spiritual and the fraternal side of things, where there's a real, again, camaraderie and friendship that develops among everybody, and that helps psychologically as much as the food helps physically, I think.
And in the world today, with all of the various challenges out there, isn't it great for individuals to come together? Different walks of life, people that you may not necessarily come into contact with, but it just bringing the community together. And isn't that really what Christ's vision is to love one another? I mean, that is the most powerful part of Scripture, his message of loving one another. And when you come together for a common cause, don't you think that builds, you mentioned camaraderie, but that fraternal relationship that spiritually you grow, right, Don?
Oh yeah, when you interact with other people, you can't help but spiritually grow, especially in the environment that you have at St. Vincent de Paul. There's people come in, beginning of the meal, nothing happens until we say a prayer. So we put everything in perspective there, get off on the right foot. And as you mentioned, as we're serving people, the whole time they're there, I hear thank you so much all the time. And we're striking up conversations with these people to try to give them a little interaction with people. And like I said earlier, we tell them good to see you today, have a good day, things like that. And they're always thanking us over and over again for the food, for the help, for the service. There's a real interaction there. Like I said earlier, we give and trying to help these people, but we receive more in return from that reward, because that's just the way volunteer work happens. And I want to encourage people to come experience that, because you think you're going to give, but you're going to receive more in return.
And that's growing rich in the heart, in the soul. Mm-hmm. We know what our bank accounts look like, and we know how those can grow, but the soul is where we need that growth in the most important place. And without that when you think about it, Christ called to seek and find the forgotten. What better thing can you do with your life than to impact the poorest of the poor?
Oh yeah, they need it the most, and it's just for them it's hand to mouth. Who knows when they had a previous meal? It was probably the day before at St. Vincent de Paul, if they were lucky enough to be there that day. And so you can do things to help people in the long term, but this is a way to help people immediately. Think about it. An empty stomach is a pretty high priority to anybody with an empty stomach. And so if you can fill it, especially with good hot food. And let me tell you something. Not only do you have a great staff, there's some phenomenal cooks on that staff, as you well know. Okay. And they do. I don't know how they do it for the budget you guys have to operate on, and they're able to make a lot of meals from a little bit of money and serve a whole lot of people. And it's not just a meal that you have to endure. It is a very delicious. And so the people, our customers, are very fortunate to have that environment.
Well, Miss Denise Terrence and our whole crew, Ora May, Miss Hilda, they all do such a great job, and very small staff. I believe all women stop aging at 29. But they're not 29. They're a little bit older than 29, and they do heavy lifting.
Oh, yeah.
And they're amazing human beings. And they're there not for the job, but for the mission and the ministry of St. Vincent de Paul, which is why the volunteers are there. And I think it's kind of something that, once you kind of get in your blood, you can't stop, can you, Don?
No, it calls you back, because it's so rewarding. It's not like, oh boy, I've got to go do that today. That's going to be a miserable couple of hours. No, you look forward to it because it is so rewarding. And again, helping the customers is really, really rewarding. But think about the help that our volunteers give to staff. I want to make sure your viewers know this, that that during the height of the pandemic, I guess say March to August, September, whatever of last year, they worked 7 days a week, a lot more than 8 hours a day.
That's right.
And without a break.
Right.
And they made sure they took care of themselves so that no one got sick, and they could keep coming there and serving those people. Because if they get sick and that lunchroom shuts down, where are those people going to eat that are relying on those people for a meal?
Right.
And so they were just unbelievably dedicated to you, to St. Vincent de Paul, to their customers, to the mission, and to think that they did all that work for 6 or so months without any volunteer help, 7 days a week, the same people all day, every day, is incredible. So the opportunity to help them is also very rewarding.
Oh, no doubt about it. And I can't thank you enough, Don, for recognizing them, because anybody that's been in the dining room, they see those women in action. And it's just, I always say, I get out the way, and just it's just amazing, the operation that Denise and her crew, those women are Wonder Women. And St. Vincent de Paul and the greater Baton Rouge community, they owe them so much gratitude. And you're right, anytime we can praise them, we need to. Because they're, we talked about inspirational things. They're inspirational.
They very much are.
Because their commitment to a mission, in today's world, we see a job as a paycheck, many people. They see it as a mission and a ministry, and that's really, I think, what is St. Vincent de Paul is all about. Well, Don, we got about 1:20 left on the clock, and it's been a great visiting with you. What's one message that you would briefly share with anybody that's out there saying, I'm contemplating volunteer, but I'm not sure. I've never really interacted with people that may be experiencing poverty or homelessness. What would your message be to them?
I'd say come give it a try. It may not be for you, but you'll never know unless you give it a try. I didn't know. In fact, I would have probably bet that this isn't going to work too well, but it's Christmas time, so I'll do it because that's what you're supposed to do at Christmas time. And then it's blossomed into what it is now. So I would just encourage people to give it a try. You never know. There's no harm done in coming and helping people for a little while. If it's not a positive experience for you, you don't have to come back, but just give it a try and see if it is, and come experience what we're talking about, see the people that we're talking about, the customers and the staff and the other volunteers, and who knows, it may stick, it may not, but you never know unless you try, so I encourage you to try.
Well, thank you, Don, and thank you for all you do at St. Vincent de Paul. Without people like Don, Allison, we couldn't operate the St. Vincent de Paul Society, and we encourage you to contact us at svdpbr.org, a place where you can come and really connect with Christ and God's poor. We look forward to seeing you again next week on Beacons of Light.